If there is one band that people have busted my balls for being a fan of over the years, it is Godsmack, but goddamn do I love that band. I think Sully Erna is a great singer. He's only gotten better with time. Obviously, percussion is a major part of Godsmack, and I think they do it so well with the tribal style drumming on Voodoo, the drum battle that they do live. And I know some people think it's corny that they do that or whatever, but I happen to think it's an awesome thing to see, especially the first time, but I've seen them twice, and it's been equally as epic both times. The other thing that I think is great is that they have had the same lineup for now over 20 years, and there's really been only one lineup change, beginning with that first album where drummer Tommy Stewart, he left the band in 2002 and was replaced by the great Shannon Larkin, who of course was previously in Wrathchild, Ugly Kid Joe, Amen, things like that. A couple other bands as well. I know people who are not Godsmack fans, but the one thing that pretty much everyone agrees on is that Shannon is an absolute monster on the drums. But anyways, aside from that change and then some very, very early lineup changes prior to that first record coming out, the other three have always been a constant in the band, and that would be Sully Erna, Robbie Merrill, and Tony Rombola. But this past weekend, the band kicked off their European tour along with POD and Drowning Pool, and notably, two members of Godsmack were absent. That would be Shannon Larkin and guitarist Tony Rombola. Of course, the band did have fill-ins. They had Will Hunt from Evanescence on drums and for Shannon, and then Sam Bam Koltun, I believe is how you say his last name. He's in Dorothy, Faster Pussycat, and Budderside. He might even be in more bands, who knows. But he was filling in for Tony. And frontman Sully Erna did an interview with Elena Rosberg of the Z-Rock radio station in Bulgaria. It was the first night of the tour. The tour kicked off in Sofia, where Sully offered some insight into the situation, although nothing too specific. He was first asked about the current state of Godsmack, to which he responded, "Well, that's such a tricky question to answer right now at this stage. I can tell you that there has definitely been some changes that have happened in the last few months. They are changes that we're not sure will be permanent or temporary, but everybody and everyone is in good health and in really good spirits. And the band is doing better than ever. We're playing to the biggest audiences ever, and the shows are just becoming more and more valuable because as we get older, we still appreciate coming to places like Sofia that is so far away from where we started and being able to come here and sell out a 13,000 seat arena. All I can tell you right now is that the band is in good health, we're in good spirits, but there's going to be a little bit of a different visual for everybody. Tony and Shannon have some personal things going on and they're not with us. So we have a couple of guest musicians playing with us that are phenomenal. And that is the absolute truth. Both Will and Sam are great players. Sam's actually been on this channel before along with Patrick Stone, his singer in Budderside, and feels like he's been a part of a million different bands. I think that's really because I mentioned those three bands earlier, Faster Pussycat, Dorothy, and Budderside. He might even be involved in more. I don't know. The guy's in like every single band you can imagine. But anyways, in that interview with Sully, he was then asked to elaborate on why Tony and Shannon are not a part of this European tour. Here's what he said. I don't know. I don't know if I feel safe enough talking about that yet because I don't want to give people the wrong impression. Right now, we're still at a stage where we're trying to figure out exactly what's happening, but we're also trying to respect their privacy. So whatever Tony and Shannon have going on in their personal life, we're just trying to respect that and at the same time still come here and put on a really great show. I can tell you right now that we have a guest drummer playing with us who's Will from Evanescence, and he is such a good friend of ours and such a great musician, and we've been having so much fun with him. So that's been a real surprise. And then we have a guitar player with us named Sam Koltun, who is somebody who he's played with several different bands and a really, really nice guy and great guitar player. So as far as the music goes and the sound, it sounds exactly like we've always sounded, which is even surprising to me. So obviously not the most descriptive or detailed explanation in the world, but I think out of everything that he said in that interview, to me, the most interesting part was at the beginning of what I read, where he said that it's, uncertain right now if these changes are temporary or permanent. Not 100% sure that he is specifically referring to the absence of Tony and Shannon, but I mean, it's really hard to imagine he's referring to anything else. So hopefully all is well with those guys. I certainly do not want to see either of them exit Godsmack. Of course, Sully does a majority of the writing for the band, although both contribute. So, if they were to leave the band, I'm not sure how much really would change there in terms of writing. But, again, Shannon is such a beast of a drummer. It's really hard to picture Godsmack with anyone else at this point. Again, it's been over 2 decades since Tommy Stewart left. And then Tony has been in the band for so long. He came, I don't know, I think it was the second guitarist, if I recall. He came like a year before that first album, which was 98, somewhere around there. Obviously a key part of the sound and the band. So hopefully both he and Shannon will remain. I will say though, it is worth pointing out that it is interesting that it's these two in particular, Tony and Shannon, that are absent, because they had another band together a few years ago. I think that band is no longer a thing. It was called the Apocalypse Blues Review. And then I believe later on they changed their name to the Apocalypse Blues Revival. But the fact that those two had their own band together would lead one to think that they must be particularly close. And maybe not. I mean, this is just pure speculation, but perhaps there are some internal issues and it's maybe a situation of solidarity or something. You know, maybe one or both are happy. I honestly don't know. I hope that's not the case. I am purely speculating, just kind of a what if situation, I guess, but definitely worth pointing out for sure that both of them had their own band together just a few years ago, if you didn't know that. But whatever the reasoning is, all the best to Tony and Shannon. Hopefully everything is okay. And Godsmack's European tour runs through mid-April, and as of now, the time of filming this, they have no other dates announced, so it really could be a while until we get any more insight into this whole situation. So, you know, hopefully we won't have to wait too long. But again, all the best to Shannon and Tony and everyone else in the Godsmack camp. I really cannot express how much I love that band, so much. They were such a big part of my teenage years, so hopefully everything is all good internally. But anyways, that is all that I got for you for right now. Thanks so much for hanging out. Feel free to drop a like, subscribe below if you feel like it, and I'll see you next time.